Hello, welcome. This is the global community for adults who are healing CPTSD. My name is Athena, and I'll be facilitating our time together today. I have some relaxing music here that I was going to play for us. Everybody seems to really enjoy that, so let me get that here for us. How are you? I'm so glad you decided to be here. There we go. How is that? Hello, John Harvey. So good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Hello, Craig. So good to see you. I'm sending you hugs right back. So this week, as we've been doing recently, we have a theme. We have a theme and a journal prompt. And our theme and journal prompt is, what does welcoming learning look like for you? Our theme is learning. Learning from others in community like we have here. Hello, warm welcome to you, Lisa. Hello to you, Mary. Hello, Mandy J and Lil J. So, as I was saying, we have all been gathering together here about once a week for almost 10 years now. So, about once a week. Right now it's on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're here for our time together, I warmly welcome you. And we gather together and we share what's been working in our healing journey, and we share what hasn't been working in our healing journey. And lately we've been doing a weekly theme and journal prompt. So our theme is learning from others. And our journal prompt is, what does welcoming learning look like for you? So I'll share for me what learning may look like, what welcoming learning may look like. I have a very small inner circle of safe enough others that I have cobbled together over the years. Dear friends, loved ones. And I've been learning different little things from each of them. And if I'm being honest, some of the things I learn are actually not little things, they're big things. And I think one of the most helpful parts of learning for me, especially as it pertains to healing CPTSD, is I tend to put limits on myself. My circle of loved ones over the years has gotten very, 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 very small. Many of you I've known for quite some time, and many of you know that I have chosen to be estranged from some of my family of origin. Not everyone, but most of them. And so that means that my circle has gotten really, really, really small. But I'm learning about myself from those I've actually chosen to allow into my life. I've learned a lot. I've learned about my capacity. I've learned about my likes, my dislikes, what is healthy for me, what is calming, what is soothing, ways I can welcome peace and ease into my life, and ways that I can befriend my nervous system so that I'm not walking around this jumbled up ball of nerves. And I don't know about you, but healing CPTSD feels like a full-time job sometimes, depending on our level of post-traumatic stress, depending on how regulated or dysregulated our nervous system can be, depending on our symptoms, depending on our trauma narrative. So if you're new to our channel, we warmly welcome you, and I would love to know, what are you learning? What are you learning lately? Oh, a warm welcome. Hello to all those I haven't had a chance to greet by name. Hello, we warmly welcome you, Jimmy. Jimmy says, I'm a first-time listener. I've been looking forward to the live weekly. We're so glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by, Jimmy. We're a friendly bunch. We show up here once a week. We've been doing this for about 10 years now. And we share what's been working with our healing journey and also what hasn't been working. Warm welcome to you, Lisa. Warm welcome to you, Nadine, and Mary, and anyone else I didn't get a chance to greet by name. Yeah. John Harvey says, I got a small circle of friends too, Athena. Small doesn't mean it is bad, and it can be safe. Exactly. John Harvey says, I'm learning to be okay with people. You know, I am learning too. And I think one of the ways that I am welcoming learning into my own healing journey is being open to change. I used to think that I really, really, really knew myself. And I knew who I was and what I was about and what were my likes, my dislikes, my limits, my preferences, my boundaries. And it turns out the more we learn and grow, the more we are open to personal and professional growth, the more we're open to our healing journey from post-traumatic stress, depending on what type of repeated relational trauma that you have encountered that has brought you to a place called CPTSD Foundation, then that is going to determine the depth in which you allow your relationships to go, and not only the depth but the breadth, like the number of individuals you enjoy welcoming into your life. And not everyone, this is one of the things I've learned the most. Not everyone deserves to hear my story. Not everyone deserves my time, attention. Not everyone deserves my company. I'm very choosy now who I allow into my inner circle. Warm welcome to you, Midnight Blue. So good to see you as always. We're talking about learning, specifically learning from others. What ways are you welcoming learning into your life? What does that look like for you? So yeah, before we get started with our breath work, we're doing a different type of breath work today. I'm really excited to introduce it to you. I also have our meditation written by Morgan Harper Nichols. Her artwork is what you see on the screen. We also have our Compassionate Healing Strategy written by Dr. Ariel Schwartz. And we also have our Loving the Self affirmation written by Lisa A. Romano. And thanks for all of your feedback regarding the incredible quotes that we've had from Young Pueblo's most recent book, The Way Forward. And I'm not sure if many of you know this, but he just recently did a TEDx talk. Oh no, actually, it wasn't a TEDx talk. He did a keynote for South by Southwest education. And if I can find the link to it, I will put the link in the chat box for you. But I found it to be very insightful and very helpful just for my own unique healing journey. So, yeah, it really is, it's interesting for us to be able to pause together and to glance at some of the ways that we are welcoming learning into our life. What is it that we're learning about ourselves? As I was saying, learning and growing and shifting in ways that I can welcome more peace and ease. I used to think that I really just, I was this one person, and I sort of, this is what I believed, this is what I embodied. These are the people that I spent time with. This is what my life was going to be like. And it wasn't until we, you and I, as a community, I want to say it was about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, we started going through Melody Beatty's book together, Language of Letting Go. And we got to go through that book a couple of times. And it was probably as we were going through it the second or third time, I sort of had a bit of a light bulb moment, like, I'm starting to feel differently about the ways in which people were showing up in my life and the ways I was allowing them to have access to me. And I didn't even realize that I was allowed to change my mind in those moments. So, as John Harvey was mentioning a little bit earlier, I do think it's 100% okay for us to reevaluate and look at the circle of people we have in our lives and how many we allow access to our heart, our soul, our time, our energy, our attention. It's really worth evaluating because we get to choose. We get to choose how much time we spend with others and how much access they are allowed to have to us. So, with our journal prompt being, what does welcoming learning look like for you? Go ahead and we'll get started. So as I was mentioning about our breath work, so over the past year or more, we've been doing guided breath work. And we engage our prefrontal cortex when we do guided breath work, where I count us in and I count the number of breaths. And we breathe together. And we have a certain number of counts per breath for our in-breath and our pause and our out-breath. So that type of breath work is what's called a top-down approach. If we're looking at the brain, the top part of the brain is the prefrontal cortex. The middle part of the brain, or the limbic system, the reward system, is in the middle. And then the bottom part of the brain is the reptilian brain, or the brain stem. So the type of breath work we're going to do today is different than that. It's a bottom-up approach to breath work. So in the past year or two, we've been breathing together, and we've been counting, which uses the left hemisphere of our brain and our prefrontal cortex, or the top brain. Today, we are going to do a bottom-up approach where, rather than counting our breaths together, I'll guide us in a way that we can have a different type of breathwork experience. Let me just check in on you. I see the chat box moving a lot here. 1 second. Oh, it's good to see you too, Midnight Blue. Hello, Dio. Is it Dio? Dio. Hello, Dio. Dio says, is Bobby involved with this foundation, please? Actually, no, this YouTube channel is sponsored by the Foundation for Post-Traumatic Healing and Complex Trauma Research, and Bobby's organization is the International Association for Trauma Recovery Coaching. And I believe you can find her at thetraumarecoverycoach.com or at iaotrc.org, or is it .com? I think it's .com. I hope that's helpful. Oh, thank you so much, John Harvey. John Harvey says, I know she used to be part of, but I'm not sure how much she is now. Yeah, so the foundation, CPTSD Foundation, we focus mostly on trauma-informed peer support and continuing education with regards to trauma-informed care. And Bobby's organization is specifically for those who are practitioners or those who are interested in becoming trauma recovery coaches and being certified and becoming practitioners. So I hope that's helpful, Dio. And I'm grateful you stopped by. We're really glad to have you. Oh, you're so very welcome. Absolutely. Well, hello to you, Dolly. We warmly welcome you. We are just getting started with our breath work. Here we go. So, in weeks past, I have counted you in, and today, instead of counting, I'm going to guide you on a bottom-up approach to breath work. And fun fact, there is a nerve that runs from your vertebrae in your bottom brain, your brainstem. I believe it's vertebrae 2, 3, and 5, or 3, 4, and 5 rather. And the nerve runs all the way down from your brainstem. If you reach back and touch your neck, the bottom, like right where your neck meets here, that bone, the very first bone that you feel in your back when it goes into your neck, that's right around vertebrae 2, 3, and 4, or 3, 4, and 5. There's a nerve that goes all the way from there, all the way down to your diaphragm. And so what we're going to do today, we are going to breathe together. And what will typically happen as a result of us doing this particular breath work together is that you may get an urge to yawn. You may get an urge to reach and stretch. And as we turn our head to the left and to the right together, chances are your body will naturally release. You might get tingles or the chills, and you may experience a yawn. So let us begin. Your invitation here is to be very, very, very comfortable. You can lie down. You can be sitting. The most important thing is that you're very, very comfortable. You can have your eyes open or closed. Let us place one hand on our heart and one hand on our belly, and simply find the breath. Find the rise and fall that comes naturally. Once you've located it, I want to invite you to lift your hands up above your shoulders. If it feels comfortable, lift them a little bit higher up, like you're trying to reach the highest part of the room you're in, or if you're outdoors, you're trying to reach the sky. Spread your fingers wide as they will go, and open and close your palms. Open and close your hands. And while your arms are lifted above your shoulders, slowly look over to the left as far as you can see, all the way to the left. As though you're looking behind your left shoulder in your peripheral vision. Remembering to breathe, opening and closing your hands or wiggling your fingers. Now, move your head from looking behind your left shoulder all the way over to look behind your right shoulder, as though you're trying to look as far behind you to the right as you possibly can. Remembering to breathe. Remembering to spread your fingers out and wiggle your fingers, opening and closing your hands. Let us look up to the sky or up to the ceiling in the room that we are in. And let's reach our arms all the way out to our sides, as far left as our arm can go and as far right as our arm can go. Turn our palms up to the ceiling, up to the sky. Looking as far up, tilting your chin up as far as you can tilt it. And bringing it back toward the front. Lowering your hands, touching the tops of your shoulders. Reaching your hands up and out in front of you. Turning your wrists to the left and to the right. And one more time, let's look all the way to the left. And all the way to the right. allowing our hands to come all the way back, resting in a comfortable position down by our sides, tilting our head up to the sky or the ceiling and down, trying to touch our chin all the way to our chest. If we could touch our chin to our belly button, we could. Let's place it and press it as far down as it can go. And then just relaxing in a comfortable position. Well done. That was beautiful breath work. I think one of the only challenges for me in bottom-up breath work is remembering to breathe. Everything else feels safe in the body, and it comes naturally. And I got multiple yawns. And when we yawn, we're activating our parasympathetic nervous system, which is also called our rest and digest. Beautiful breath work today. Midnight Blue said, wow, I got 2 yawns. I was also surprised when I got as many yawns as I did with bottom-up breath work. I'm so used to doing guided breath work. It was so interesting to do something different. Lisa says, I like this. It's different. I got a yawn. I like it too, Lisa, and it is different. I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. Mary says, I got lots of yawns too. Oh, I'm so grateful to know that this landed well with you. Yeah, I took a continuing education on befriending the nervous system with Linda Ty over the weekend. And it was one of the standout moments of the entire training was just this different type of breath work. I was so very grateful, and I couldn't wait to share it with you. Mandy J and Lil J say, I like that too. I'm so glad. Glad to know we found something that we enjoy. We have options here. We have choices. So our quote this week is from Young Pueblo, most recent book, The Way Forward, and it's on page 85. And he says, everyone who is healing their old trauma and learning to live beyond the past is part of the solution. I love that. We are part of the solution. His quote reminds me of that one quote that says something along the lines of, I used to be very, very, very ambitious and say I wanted to change the world. And now I am a bit more realistic and I am focused on changing me. Something like that. I butchered the quote, of course. It's one of my useless superpowers is I mix metaphors and I mess up quotes. You can guarantee that if you have a conversation with me, I will misappropriate or completely botch a quote, and or I will mix a metaphor to the point where you don't even understand what I'm talking about. It's just part of my awesome charm and, my unforgettable social awkwardness. you're so welcome, Lisa. You're so welcome. Mary says, I love this idea of befriending the nervous system. Hi, nervous system. How are you today? I love it too, Mary. Yeah, our nervous system does a lot of work for us. Well, hello to you, Emily. Emily says, me too. Yeah, it's one of my superpowers. So we have our meditation written by Morgan Harper Nichols. It's right in alignment with our theme this week of welcoming learning and our journal prompt, which is, what does welcoming learning look like for you? Morgan Harper Nichols is the artist. Her artwork is what you see on the screen. And she has an invitation for us this week, and it reads, there is so much we can learn from others. Sometimes it might seem hard in real time, especially when it comes to thinking about all of the things in life you have to keep up with. However, one thing we can focus on today is that we are learning from others in subtle ways too. Sometimes we may not even realize the things we have learned from others until many years later. If you've ever had a teacher, a leader, a family member, a friend, or a neighbor who you learned something from as a kid, then you may not have been able to articulate what you learned from them while you were a child. It took time for you to be able to look back and see what you learned from them. There will come a time when we look back on this present moment of our lives and realize that we were learning something all along. Perhaps right now we are learning from someone else how to be strong, or we're learning what love looks like. And yes, we can even learn from others right now about who we don't want to be. That in the moment, we might only feel the emotions of it, and it might not make much sense at all. But with time, we will be able to look back and discover that all along we were learning from others. We will be able to look back and find how those lessons are a part of who we became. Here in this life, your story is connected to others in ways that you may not even realize. May we let learning be a lifelong process and continue to learn from others. May we let even the subtle moments in life bloom into experiences that are filled with opportunities for gathering wisdom and growth. I love that. What a gift. warm welcome to you, Jeffrey Sherman. You are never late. You are right on time. We did a different kind of breath work today, Jeffrey. And we just finished our quote and our meditation. And we're so glad that you're here. We're going to transition into our compassionate healing strategy written by Dr. Ariel Schwartz. And this is from pages 58 to 60 of her book titled A Practical Guide to Complex PTSD, Compassionate Strategies to Begin Healing from Childhood Trauma. So our compassionate healing strategy today is we are going to be glancing at and deciding if our thoughts are helpful or unhelpful. And Dr. Ariel is reminding us to be super mindful of not judging our thoughts as good or bad, but rather glancing at them and simply noticing if they seem to be helpful or unhelpful. Do they cause tension or anxiety, or do they welcome peace and ease? It's not a judgment. We're simply glancing with curiosity and noticing. So let us begin. Dr. Ariel says, this compassionate healing strategy of cultivating helpful thoughts is a mindfulness practice inviting us to become the compassionate witness of our thoughts, through which we build our capacity to non-judgmentally and lovingly accept ourselves. We can do this by using the structure of a meditation practice. And since meditation can sometimes feel super intimidating, maybe we can choose to start slowly with, let's say, just a couple minutes. We can set a timer, or we can just do this together, and then you can do it on your own. So, we're going to find a comfortable position, lying down or seated, unless of course you prefer standing or walking around. We can sit in a chair or on a cushion on the floor. We can lie down on the grass, under a tree, or on a couch or a bed, whatever allows us to be comfortable for the next few minutes. Now, we are going to observe our thoughts with the intention of simply noticing. Noticing whether each of our thoughts feels helpful or unhelpful. Again, it's important for us to note here that we are not judging our thoughts as good or bad, but rather the invitation is simply to recognize the difference between thoughts that create greater ease and those that create distress. The goal of our practice together today is to create clarity of mind, giving ourselves permission to let go of any thoughts that create cloudiness or confusion. Unhelpful thoughts are those that feel unkind or unrealistic or overgeneralized, self-diminishing, shaming, or filled with self-hatred or self-loathing. These types of thoughts are often fueled by our inner critic. Other signs of unhelpful thoughts include harsh judgments of ourselves or others, and looping ruminations that can fuel the feeling of hopelessness. Some examples of some unhelpful thoughts might include thoughts like, I am worthless, or failure, or loser, or I'll never get anything right, or I'm never going to get better. No one's ever going to love me. I cannot trust anyone. Nobody can live up to my standards, and neither can I. So as we explore these kinds of unhelpful thoughts, which ones arise for you? Let us notice if there are any particular thoughts that arise that keep coming back into your mind on their own. Are they familiar? Let us ask ourselves where and from whom we learned these negative messages about ourselves or about the world. So the next step in this practice, and the final step, actually it's the second to last step, I lied. It's the next step in our practice. There's one more after this. We're going to take any of those unhelpful thoughts that we are noticing, and we're going to replace them with helpful and more accurate thoughts by imagining that we're sitting on the bank alongside a river, and we get to glance at those unhelpful thoughts and reach over and pick them up and then place them in the river, kind of like leaves or pieces of grass. We get to send them down the stream so they can just float on down. And now, let us glance at some new and helpful thoughts that we may like to say to ourselves instead. You can have your own set of helpful thoughts that you enjoy. Here are just some examples of compassionate statements that we might like to try on for size. Compassionate statements that welcome peace and ease might sound something like, I accept myself just as I am. I do not need to be perfect in order to be loved. I am enough just as I am. I deserve to be treated with kindness and respect. And while I cannot trust everyone, I can find some people who are trustworthy. I am only human. I will be accepting of my mistakes. And other people are only human, and I will be accepting of their mistakes. And here's one that I made up that isn't in Dr. Ariel's book. I deserve friendships and relationships with others who value me for me and not for what I can produce or get for them or do for them. Dr. Ariel says, as we complete this practice, let us take just a few moments to notice how we feel when we speak to ourselves with kindness and accuracy. Do we notice any changes in how we feel emotionally? How do we feel in the body? Can we imagine how our behaviors might change as a result of this practice? Remember, repeating this practice will help us to create lasting change. Let us notice what happens when we experiment with the cultivation of helpful thoughts as a routine. I don't know about you all, but that was very helpful for me. I feel much more at ease. Oh, Mandy J and Little J say, Jeffrey, the new breath work was really good. You should check it out after here. We did a completely different type of breath work, Jeffrey, because I went to this continuing education class. Midnight Blue says, good reminders about looping. Yeah, those looping thoughts can really just sneak in, like we don't even realize what's happening, right? John Harvey says, unhelpful thoughts are sometimes the loudest inside my head. Me too, John Harvey. Me too. Yeah, Midnight Blue relates. Lisa says, positive affirmations are helpful for me. I'm so glad, Lisa. It took me a really long time to be able to be open to them and to experience some peace and ease. For a while, I had to reword them. Like, for instance, and I warmly welcome each of you to do this. I encourage you to do this, as a matter of fact. So some of the helpful thoughts versus the unhelpful thoughts that Dr. Ariel was inviting us to glance at, she says, I accept myself just as I am. I do not need to be perfect in order to be loved. I am enough just as I am. And depending on your trauma narrative, I'm speaking to each person here who's here with me right now, and each person who can hear my voice on a replay. Depending on your trauma narrative, depending on the pervasiveness of your inner critic and the level of toxic shame that you may or may not be living with, those types of affirmations might feel jolting or triggery or just untrue and unhelpful. And you might find that your body sort of cringes when you say them. And if that's the case, it's super important that we don't gaslight ourselves. It's important to listen to the body. If the body doesn't like the affirming statements that we're saying here, it's really, really, really helpful, or it can be, to reword the affirming statements to something that does feel true or possible. Okay? So what that might look like is, I am open to the idea of accepting myself just as I am. I am open to the idea of not needing to be perfect in order to be loved. Someday, I look forward to feeling as though I am enough just as I am. I am open to believing that I deserve to be treated with kindness and respect. I know it's a subtle shift, but semantics count. Words matter. Okay? So please only use affirming statements that you actually find helpful and supportive for your unique healing journey. It's important that we don't gaslight ourselves. So many of us have been gaslit for so many years. The last thing we want to do is to feel unsafe in the body when all we're trying to do is befriend our nervous system. Okay? John Harvey says, is chocolate cake? Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh no, wait, I missed it. Where did it go? Is chocolate cake a helpful thought? Asking for a friend. Yes. It really is. Oh, thank you so much, John Harvey. I needed the little giggle. Yeah, Mary and Lisa say yes. Mary says, wonderful. I can't wait to listen to this again and dive deeper. Oh, I'm so glad. Emily says, it's so frustrating how much energy to push out the less helpful thoughts. Absolutely, Emily. It is exhausting. You know, on that note, you all, I want to pause right now. And I want to imagine all of us sitting along this bank of the stream that Dr. Ariel described. And Emily, I don't know if this is helpful for you, but for me, it was exhausting also, and it just didn't feel authentic. And so I pictured myself on the bank of a stream or a river that Dr. Ariel was describing. And I picture myself with all of you. And there are little twigs and leaves and little blades of grass. And I'm plucking them and picking them up and gathering them in my hand as all of the unhelpful thoughts. And then I'm leaning over or walking over to the very edge of the stream or river, and I'm just emptying out my hand of the leaves and the twigs and the blades of grass. And I'm just watching them, watching all those unhelpful thoughts as they float down somewhere else. And then I imagine a little birdie or an otter or a beaver or someone gathering them up and using them to make a nest or to help build a dam or do something constructive with them as they can, take something like a upcycling, like a repurposing, right? Here's this garbage that was in my head, these blades of grass and twigs and leaves, and look, it's a bird's nest where babies are going to be born, or it's a dam that's going to help the water stay where it needs to be. And then I'm able to just sort of release it, like it's not as exhausting if I think of it like that. So I don't know if that's helpful for you, Emily, but it's one of the only ways I've ever been able to do the whole practice of replacing unhelpful thoughts with helpful ones. So I don't know if that's helpful for you. So Lisa says, my therapist worked with me for a long time on calming the body and tapping. Same here, my very, very first one, my second therapist, actually, Karen, she helped me with that. And then my trauma therapist that I've been with now for several years, Sonia, she's really, 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 really helped me also. So, Emily says, I've used affirmations. Yes, that's another way to do it, right? That's another way we can use it in the form of a question so that it doesn't feel like a mandate or a directive, right? It's important that we have agency and that we're claiming our agency, you know? John Harvey says, Jeffrey Sherman, I thought of you. What you said, that I am a donut. Both are good. Yes. Cake and donuts are always welcome here. Great tip, Athena. Thank you so much, Midnight Blue. Jimmy says, holy cow, did you know of my resistance to seemingly untrue affirmations? The idea of the adjustment to fit the need is huge. The permission, even more so. Oh, Jimmy, oh, my hand is on my heart. Oh, my hand is on my heart. I graciously and wholeheartedly, warmly receive your statement here. And it's not that I am like living in your head or anything, Jimmy, because that would be super creepy. But so many of us struggle with the resistance to these seemingly untrue, out of reach, super posmo, like positive motivation, toxic positivity nonsense. Like so many of us, you know, depending on where we're at on the struggle bus, like, did we just get on the struggle bus? Or is our stop coming up in like 2 more stops? Are we almost off the struggle bus? Like, where are we at? Like, how's our healing journey today? What's my level of emotional dysregulation today? How much distress tolerance am I able to locate today? Where am I? What feels helpful and supportive? There are 7 billion different ways to heal. Mine looks different than yours. His looks different than hers. Theirs looks different than theirs. And you know what? That's okay. We can figure it out. We are healing trauma. Dolly says, girl, not the chocolate cake again. Hey, don't blame me. I was simply reading John Harvey's comment. Oh, John Harvey says, if you want, I'll stop bringing it up. Dolly says, no, John, it makes my day. Mine too. Aww. Midnight Blue says, cool analogy. Oh, I'm so glad that was helpful for you, Emily. So glad. Lisa says, I appreciate the different ideas for coping, Athena. You're so welcome. Dolly says, chocolate cake power. Yes, we are here for it. Bring on the cake. Okay, we are going to end our time together. We are over time today. Look at us going long. We're going to end our time together with Loving the Self affirmation written by Lisa A. Romano. Remember to switch up the words so that they feel true for you. Lisa says, sometimes we feel afraid of the unknowns. So occasionally we feel stuck. We may even blame others and our circumstances for why we just can't move on, present day. But today I am learning to understand that fear is not a good enough reason not to move beyond dysfunctional comfort zones. Today, I will take a risk. I will take a risk and find a way to make me happy without taking anyone with me. Today, my happiness will be my goal and my responsibility. I can walk, meditate, pray, meet up with others, take a long bath, take a class, read, journal, and I can do whatever it takes to get happy right now. I love that. Yes, yes. May it be so. So thank you all so much for being here this week. I will see you right here next Monday and every Monday, 7 p.m. Unless I see you over on Circle, away from social media. Again, this channel is sponsored by the Foundation for Post-Traumatic Healing and Complex Trauma Research. And you can go to cptsdfoundation.org. You can join us. There's a greater healing community over there away from social media. We also have daily recovery support calls twice a day, every day, Monday through Friday, with different types of book clubs and yoga and creative groups on the weekends. And I'm so grateful that I got to be here with you. Thank you so much. It's been such a nourishing and beautiful hour to spend with you. So if I don't see you sooner, I'll be right back here on Monday, 7 p.m. And in the meantime, please be extra kind and patient and gentle with yourselves, because you're worth it. And I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.